We're going to go through some really interesting things today. And it has to do with a study that was performed about 3 years ago. And what I'm starting to notice is there was a lot of important research papers that were published during the pandemic. And I think a lot of this was trying to urge people to have a better understanding of their bodies so they knew, in this case, when to exercise, and in some cases, how to exercise more efficiently. And I know we've done many topics thus far regarding how we can do things like 1 minute exercise, 16-second breathing exercises to kind of help you improve the quality of your day. Again, I'm going to pay homage to the doctors here that did the research: Colin M. Douglas, Stuart Hesketh, and Karen A. Esser. I always encourage you to and just Google people's names and look at all of the work that these scientists have done. I mean, they are the superheroes kind of in the background doing the science, and we get to learn from them. So it's a pretty wonderful thing that exists. I didn't know this world exists. This is how naive. No clue this world existed until I pursued my 2 master's degrees. And I have found immense appreciation for the academic world and immense appreciation for scientists who spend a better part of their life researching subjects that they spend years on. And we paraphrase it in 20 seconds or a 10, 20 minute podcast. It's not fair to them, but I just want to make sure that I recognize these individuals, and I encourage all of you to look at their work, and I'll do my best to bring out what they do to light with my interpretation. And sometimes it may be overly light, but forgive me if I get it completely off by a little bit, but I should be okay. I can read okay. Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. This research paper called "The Time of Day and Muscle Strength, a Circadian Output." And this is, I know for a fact that Karen Esser, I am pretty sure, is out of University of Florida, and she has been well cited in understanding the fact that our muscles have a clock in it. I know it sounds really interesting, but it really does. There's a central clock, which we're not going to go into detail today, but there is such a thing as a clock in your muscles. And this clock is important because it takes cues from your genes and how you actually live your life, meaning when you feed, when you get up, when you sleep, and it regulates the optimal time for your muscles to be the strongest for exercise. So think about it as, and I think she would agree based on some of the science that I've seen her represent, is that your body would need to warm up. And this warming up usually happens during the day because you have to get up, you have to make sure that your muscles are rehydrated and take in more macronutrients so that it can start to function at optimal level. And that optimal level seems to be 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Yes, that's when your gene expression for you in your muscles to be able to work harder because you have more nutrients. Now, I want everyone to understand that before we even had the cerebellum, which is the 2 little kind of, I would call them large almonds in our head, that cerebellum didn't really get developed until well after our central nervous system. So our limbic system is actually much older than our cerebellum. And that would probably suggest why we have actually this clock in our muscles that help us regulate, our ability to be strongest, to store energy such as glycogen so that we could use it more effectively. And this research paper was done it basically took a lot of the information from 20 years and compiled that data and came out with this result. And so they did it on this isometric, they based it off of isometric force. And isometric force is more force. So if I was, what would be a good way to describe this? Dumbbell would be an isometric force, or using your legs, just doing this muscle, right? Strengthening your hamstrings on the machine, which is in fact the machine they use, and you can see that on the screen. But what they were starting to realize is if you have a specific time that you eat and a specific time you fuel your muscles and a specific time you sleep, the muscles will adapt. The clock in the muscles will adapt optimally to that time frame. In a natural sleep pattern where people sleep at night, wake up in the day, you're optimized at around 4 p.m. I will caveat that with the following. So they did do a study. I believe the study was on mice, and there was another group that did it on humans. And what they tested was they had two groups of people. One group that exercised at 4 p.m. and then another group that exercised at, I believe, 6 a.m. or somewhere in the morning. And they found that over the course of, I believe, 3 months, that the group that was training more during the morning opposed to the afternoon would be able to reach the strength output of the group that trained in the afternoon with practice. But the absolute value, meaning the absolute strength gain, was much greater than the people who exercise during the afternoon and with the same stimulus, which is, let's say they increased the time they worked out, or they increased the weight they were pushing, increasing the energy expenditure. So 1 for 1, the people who exercised in the morning had greater absolute adaptations for strength and power than the group that was doing in the afternoon. That seems to suggest that your natural clock, muscle clock, will shift backwards to accommodate your gene expression, so that it says, okay, well, this guy seems to be working out mainly, or this guy and gals seems to be working out mainly during the morning. I'm going to change my body so that I adapt to that time frame, and then that will give that person the ability to exercise at their optimal. And the optimal time for that human being, probably like at ground zero, let's say you didn't exercise and you started neutral, it would take you probably, according to this research study, between 6 weeks to 3 months or 12 weeks of adaptation before you really are able to perform the same way you're able to perform at 4 p.m. But granted, you're going to plateau, right? Because so the people at 4 p.m. doesn't just keep getting better. They got to their best at, say, 4 p.m., which is the optimal time. And even though they pushed it to like 8 p.m., you don't necessarily get better. So optimally, there is a optimal, there is a maximum to how much you can improve relative to what your circadian clock in your muscles will tolerate. Not sure if you completely understand that, but I hope I make some sense to you. This is a kind of it's more an idea you understand than the specifics. But if the takeaway for you or any of us is, listen, if you're already exercising in the afternoon around 4 p.m., good for you. If you're exercising at 6 p.m. or 8 p.m., you might want to push that back to 4 p.m. because that's when your muscles are generally strongest. But if you've already been exercising for more than 3 months at 8 p.m., you're already adapted. So you're not going to get any gains by moving the clock backwards. Same thing for you. If you've been exercising at 6 a.m. already for the last 3 months, you're not going to realize those gains because your adaptation is already complete. Now, if you're just starting to exercise and you're 1 week in and you've been exercising in the morning, it's probably easier for you to gain strength if you just switch the afternoon workout, or wait 6 weeks to 3 months or 12 weeks for the adaptation to take place. I believe the adaptation starts at 6 weeks and completes at 12 weeks. And this is basically what this paper is suggesting. I'm obviously trying to present the data in the most user-friendly way possible, because I realize that a lot of times these papers, they end up confusing the person that may not have this background. And even people who try to explain papers like this, they get into too much science, and oftentimes the takeaway isn't completely clear. So takeaway, let me just kind of make sure we get the right takeaway here. If you want to start exercising from 0 and you have time to exercise at 4 p.m., perfect time to exercise. That's when your body has stored up enough energy for you to utilize your muscles for maximum strength, maximum power. Okay, that's around 4 p.m. If you think you are able to train only at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or 8 a.m., your body will take 6 weeks to 12 weeks to adapt to its maximum potential, which would be equivalent to the potential of the person that would have exercised at 4 p.m. So it doesn't mean if you don't work out at 4 p.m., you'll never get to that optimization. It means it just takes 6 to 12 weeks. I really hope you found this effort of mine useful. And it's not saying that you should absolutely just have to work out at 4 p.m. The truth is, work out anytime you can, and the body will adapt. And for those of you who are working out multiple times a day, like I am, this really doesn't apply to you. And for those of you who already been working out for 3 months straight at a fixed time, this probably doesn't apply to you. This will apply to you if you're brand new and you're trying to optimize your maximum output and your maximum, the best time for you to exercise, best bang for your buck, I guess would be the best way to define this. Thank you very much. Again, the link to this study will be in the show notes, and I hope that you, again, find time to read it. Again, I'm going to pay homage to the doctors here that did the research: Colin M. Douglas, Stuart Hesketh, and Karen A. Esser. Thanks. I appreciate it.